Hey everyone, my name is Abhinav. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer at Golden Gate Global, and I'm the CEO of our in-house broker-dealer. And I'm presenting on what's to come in the EB-5 visa program in 26 as well as 27. So a bit about Golden Gate Global. We've been around since 2011, and we've raised a little over $1 billion in EB-5 from more than 1,800 EB-5 investors. And we've also repaid over $300 million to more than 600 EB-5 investors, and we've never defaulted in repaying any of our matured loans. A bit about our team. So we were founded by Stephen Kay and Willie Brown back in 2011. Stephen has been an attorney for over 55 years in California. Willie is the ex-mayor of San Francisco. He was the member of California State Assembly for many years. And then Mark joined the team in 2013, and he's a Navy veteran, got his MBA from Stanford and his real estate finance background. And I'm a former immigration attorney and a licensed finance professional. So we have a large team, primarily based in the Bay Area in California, and then we have offices across the world in Brazil, South Africa, India, and China. So about EB-5, we have 3 major deadlines coming up. The first one is September 30th, 2026, and this is when the grandfathering clause is lapsing, which means there are certain protections under the laws which prevent you from getting impacted by future changes of laws. So that's expiring on September 30th, 2026. The second is Jan 1st, 2027, when the investment amount is set to increase from the current 800K level. It is expected to be between 900 and 935K starting next year. And finally, the reauthorization of the EB-5 visa program, which expires on September 30th, 2027. And I'll discuss consequence of each date moving forward. So first up, what does grandfathering clause protects the investors from? It protects investors from the lapse of the program itself. It guarantees that you will get immigration benefits even if the program does not exist in the future. So that is one major protection that is there. Second is that you have to invest in areas called targeted employment areas to qualify for the lower investment amount, which is $800,000. So they tend to get recharacterized over a few years, so it protects you from future changes of laws in that respect. And EB-5 is not only about investment, but it's also about creating American jobs. Current requirement is 10 jobs per investor. That has been there for the last 30 plus years, but it can increase in the future or decrease depending on where the Congress decides to have it. And finally, the minimum investment amount currently stands at $800,000 for targeted employment areas and $1,050,000 for any major city like New York or San Francisco, and these are set to increase on January 1st. So, in order to be protected by the grandfathering clause, the most important thing is to file your application before September 30th, 2026. What filing means and what it takes is that you have to invest the qualifying amount of $800,000 and then file your application. And the application needs to be properly filed. It's a very simple term, but it's a complicated application. Properly filed means that an attorney has documented every dollar that you're investing from root to shoot, from $1 to $800K, your investments, your salary, etc. All that narrative goes to USCIS. It needs to be properly documented. And the third thing is that you need to invest in a project that qualifies for EB-5 benefits. So you just can't buy a house in America. US does not grant permanent residence if you buy a property. You have to invest in a project. The funds should be used for construction of the project, resulting in creation of jobs. So all that needs to be done. And finally, which is a negative covenant, that if the application is not properly filed, it gets rejected, and you get that rejection, After September 30th, then you no longer get the protection under the grandfathering clause. So, a couple of things. The first thing I touched upon is source of funds. It takes between 4 to 8 weeks to document source of funds, which means if you plan to file by September 30th, you need to have retained an attorney by end of July. Your attorneys will get really busy towards September. They will not have time. It may take longer. So to play it safe, attorneys should be retained, in fact, in June at the latest to file a proper petition. The second thing is that projects itself, availability, right? You don't want to be in a situation that it's the last week of September, you want to make an investment, your source of funds is done, but the bigger, better regional centers that have a track record of repayment of capital, etc., don't have projects available. So at that point, while you get the grandfathering protection by investing in any project, but then you're putting your capital at a much higher risk, which is not ideal. And then processing bottlenecks may increase. It has happened in the past. EB-5 program has had multiple deadlines. What ends up happening is, and I experienced it as an attorney myself, we filed a petition and we got it back because USCIS just couldn't figure it out. They lost the box or dropped it, and they just sent it back as not properly filed. And these filings are pretty extensive. The source of funds documents sometimes are anywhere from 200 to 500 pages. Add to that the project docs, because these are financial offerings with all the disclosures. So the application is about 2,000 to 3,000 pages, which is being shipped physically to USCIS. So again, there are elements in this entire process that are beyond the law firm's control, that are beyond law control. So, and I've touched upon this again and again, your source of funds are the most important aspect of your application. You have to make sure that your SOF is properly documented and it needs to be compliant with your home country. If your funds are coming from Singapore, your source of funds need to kind of refer to Singaporean law and make sure that you're meeting the requirements of the laws here. If it's coming from India with currency restrictions, or Vietnam or China, they have to be compliant with the local laws of those countries. So, typical action plan is, there are attorneys here that are there are regional center professionals, there are 8 or 9 regional centers here. Talk to them, figure out the timelines, what it's going to take, discuss your individual cases with attorneys, and then once you retain them and they document your source of funds, you go ahead and file your proper application, and that will protect you from future changes of the law. So again, to recap, the first deadline is September 30th, 2026, which is for the grandfathering clause, followed by Jan 1st, 27, when the investment amount goes up, and September 30th, 2027, when the program is expected to lapse, unless reauthorized by the Congress. So yep, that's it. And if you scan the QR code, it should redirect you to informational videos about EB-5. Thank you.